Good afternoon and welcome to Empowering Family Caregiver Show on Blog Talk Radio. I'm Meghna Giridhar, your host for today's show, sponsored by eCareDiary.com. Today we will talk about cord blood, its importance and its potential. To help shed light on this, I'm very pleased to introduce our distinguished guest, Dr. Niranjan Bhattacharya. Dr. Bhattacharya is the head of the Department of Regenerative Medicine and Translation Science at the Kolkata School of Tropical Medicine in India. He is also the Director General at the Kolkata School of Tropical Medicine's first public cord blood bank in India. He has presented 184 papers outside the country, as well as been an invited speaker, chairman of scientific sessions since 1982's World Congress OBGYN at San Francisco. Dr. Bhattacharya, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to talk to you. And,
I would like to begin. Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, Meghna, you continue.
I would like to actually begin by understanding what are the constituents of cord blood.
Constituent of cord blood is, people know cord blood for stem cells, hematopoietic stem cell. By the term hematopoietic stem cell, we mean those who can reconstitute the bone marrow. Now, people became conscious for cord blood and this potential to improve the function of the bone marrow. What is known as stem cell, hematopoietic stem cells impact on the bone marrow. Whenever there is a bone marrow failure, either due to drug or due to disease like leukemias and other hematopoietic disease, or it's a case of a congenital problem involving the bone marrow, which can be immunological, metabolic, or other problems. In all these intractable disease states, people can recover the functions of bone marrow by stem cell transplantation. Stem cell transplantation is an alternative by cord blood. That means cord blood stem cell transplantation in case of bone marrow failure. That is the trend of the day. But the question is, this stem cell, they constitute 0.01% of the nucleated cell of the bone marrow. Everywhere, in all centers of excellence, starting from Berkeley to Yale to Princeton to Columbia and any other specialized institutions from the United States or anywhere else in the world, in London or Paris, people collect the stem cells from the cord blood. That means, say, hematopoietic stem cells from the cord blood, which constitute, once again, I'm repeating, 0.01% cells. The rest, 99.99% of the cells are discarded or thrown to the dustbin. Now the question is, these 99.99% cells is always, in case of healthy infant or baby, always sterile because the blood passes through the placental barrier. And placental barrier is one of the finest molecular screening procedure in the human system. Each and every drop of blood passes to the placental barrier before it enters the fetal system. Right? Now, this is absolutely free from infection in healthy newborn. We are the first in the world to use this 99.99% discarded cord blood as a blood substitute. Now, this blood, they have got certain advantages. Adult blood contains 14.6 gram % hemoglobin. In India, we find it's about 12.5 on an average. But the cord blood fetal hemoglobin, cord blood hemoglobin, it's about 20 to 22 gram %. From 14 gram % to 22 gram %. It's much more. In addition, the hemoglobin it carries 80% of it is fetal hemoglobin. What is fetal hemoglobin? Fetal hemoglobin, the baby inside the womb do not take respiration. Naturally, the oxygen comes to the system from maternal blood and carbon dioxide goes back to the maternal blood. That is a normal function of the fetus. In order to accommodate low oxygen tension into its requirement, there is genetic change of the hemoglobin, which is a fetal hemoglobin. And this cord blood fetal hemoglobin can carry 70 to 80% more oxygen than the adult hemoglobin. That means a cord blood sample or specimen of 100 cc on an average can carry oxygen equivalent to 250 ml of adult blood. Moreover, in United States, in Europe mostly, they have got a molecular screening of the blood before transfusion. The molecular screening is India, China, and the developing world as a whole. There is no molecular screening because of the cost. Here, what we do is a screening by ELISA method. With this ELISA method of screening, it's a little macro method than the molecular screening. Naturally, there are error 1 in 1 lakh or little more. We say 1 to 3 per lakh. Now, the problem is on the basis of antigen low, we take this ELISA method of reading, and on the basis of that, we can say this blood is transfusible, this blood is contaminated. But in case of nature, the placenta screens the blood in molecular method, and in spite of this molecular screening, in spite of the very high hemoglobin content, in spite of more oxygen carrying capacity of the placental blood, everywhere in the world except in School of Tropical Medicine, it goes to the dustbin or to the incinerator, depending on available infrastructure. Apart from this cord blood that contains WBC, which is around 25,000, and the adult WBC around 6,500. Its platelet count is 750,000 instead of adult blood platelet count is around 150 to 250,000. Now, we have done, once again, the first time in the world, use of the blood and its different constituents, which is safe for transfusion purpose. What I want to say that safe blood transfusion is just not available in all centers of the world. Some of the centers, advanced centers, they do safe blood transfusion, but others, they try to do safe blood transfusion, but can't do safe blood transfusion because of infrastructure deficiency. What we suggested, that placental blood is screened by the nature at placenta, and it is practically free from infection. Why I'm saying practically? Reason is our experience is, say, 1,216 blood transfusion. In the entire group of 1,000 this and more blood transfusion, we have screened this with ELISA as usual, because I have to translate to patient and other things. Not a single case of HIV 1-2 positivity or hepatitis B and C positivity or problem was seen in the course of screening. Then our question is, why we will just throw it? We can use the same thing in cases of need. In case of poorest of the poor people who can't afford to have a transfusion of a safe blood, we can do the same thing to thousands and thousands of placenta that has been prepared every year. For example, in India, there is 20 million bath every year or more. 20 million bath means 20 million placenta. 20 million placenta, if you just put a needle inside the vein of the placenta, automatically there would be 84 to 120 ml of blood. This is screened by the placenta. Once again, you screen the same thing, like this standard blood transfusion screening. But After that, it is safe. You can use it. We are the investigator group in the world. We have used it in case of malaria and severe anemia, say pediatric anemia. In sub-Saharan Africa, they don't do even the HIV screening as per WHO advice. Then I asked WHO chairman, why are you using this? In sub-Saharan Africa, the standard is different. They don't go for HIV screening. But in India, we do go for HIV screening. Each and every part of the world, they go for HIV screening. Why have you relaxed this for Africa? The answer was, what is a smart molecule? Smart molecule is something which can achieve the objective. This baby who is, for example, anemic, say hemoglobin 4 to 6 % with malaria. Now, this baby, life should be saved with blood. After blood, as a side effect, it may so happen some of them will be contaminated with HIV. Under the circumstances, WHO will provide free drugs so that HIV could be combated. And even if there is HIV, the patient's life will be extended to 15 to 20 years. You have got 20 years' time just to treat the patient and save the patient from HIV. But if you don't go for blood transfusion, the patient will die today, tomorrow, or the day after. Similarly, in different parts of the world, there are different standards for screening. This cord blood, we have got experience in the field since 1999, and everything is supported by the state government. Entire expenditure infrastructure is supported by the state government. Now, this cord blood, they have got many indications which has never been taught anywhere in the world. For example, in our setting, commonest blood donation in case of pediatric condition, let's start with thalassemia. Now, for thalassemia, you go for transfusion of blood, then chelate the extra iron after its detection, then remove the extra iron, go for transfusion, advise for retransfusion, the hemoglobin comes back to low level. Now, instead of discarding massive placental blood, we can buy the blood from adult source, we can borrow blood, we can arrange blood transfusion. But the problem is, whenever you are doing blood transfusion for adult blood, I told you earlier, the screening method in most of the world, excepting few developed countries, they depend on ELISA screening. ELISA screening is not a faultless screening. Sometimes there is a window period. After that, there may be rise in content. This unfortunate thalassemic little baby is having, say, frequent blood transfusions. And if there is one, there is contamination of the blood that can lead to this baby to be affected with HIV or hepatitis B, cytomegalovirus, etc. Now, your problem would be not only thalassemia, but also thalassemia with the background of hepatitis B, hepatitis C, or any other problem, HIV 1, 2, etc. Now, this we should have permission from all concerned. The state has given permission that this can be used as a blood substitute in the state. Say in case of anemia in rheumatoid arthritis, anemia in malignancy, anemia in tuberculosis, anemia in any chronic disease, what can be done? You treat anemia. Anemia can be treated with iron, folic acid, and other supplements along with protein supplement. But if the patient can't afford, and if the anemia is so much, for example, 4 to 6, you have to go for immediate transfusion. Otherwise, life would be in jeopardy. Naturally, we start with transfusion, then maintain with iron, folic acid, high nutritious content, protein diet, supplementation, etc. I'm giving an example. In case of leprosy, we treat with dapsone, rifampicin, etc. Dapsone can cause anemia. Say about 20% of the patients treated for leprosy, you can have anemia. What can be done? We have to treat with this. In this part of the world, we find that leprosy is among the poorest of the poor. Poor people can't afford to have meals. They are having dapsone supplemented by the government free of cost. Taking dapsone for treating leprosy, they develop anemia. What can be done? You treat with transfusion of cord blood, which is abundant, easily available. Go to the department, Eden Hospital in Calcutta is the oldest hospital in Asia. Thousands of babies are born. Then from the baby, as soon as the baby is born, you put a needle, collect the blood, and put it to our cord blood bank. Now, all cases of anemia due to any etiology, what I have seen, I have the highest experience in the world in the field. I have seen somebody dying, say, with malignancy background. We have treated with 2 units or 4 units or 6 units or 10 units. I have given 35 units to somebody. And that's the way we are treated on the basis of availability. What I have seen, improvement of anorexia, sense of well-being, and the patient's overall condition changes rapidly, and which is unthinkable. Rather, I will say it's too much to believe unless you see. My friend Philip Stubblefield, who worked with me, is the chairman, University of Boston. Earlier he was with University of Harvard. Stubblefield came to me without informing me to Calcutta and just participated in transfusion process. Elaine Glackman she's a pioneer in stem cell. She came all the way from Paris to Calcutta and to see the transfusion process. To their utter surprise, they say, unless I have seen it with my own eye, I am not going to believe this. This is a too positive thing. I told them, look, this cord blood is privileged. ABO-RH antigen. That is the antigen for blood. Whenever we give blood or we take blood, we just see for antigen. Groups are A, B, O, AB, etc. Now, in cord blood, we have done thousands of transfusions. There is not a single case of transfusion-induced problem. Transfusion-induced problems are due to certain pyrogen-like substances that causes fever, allergic response, contamination response, etc. But with cord blood, the fetal expression of antigen is about 6 to 7% than the adult. That means 94% adult ABO-RH antigens are not expressed in cord blood. Naturally, incidence of side effect due to cord blood transfusions are unthinkable. 6% by our experience, more than 1,000 cases, not a single case showed any such reaction. Now, transfusion problem-free. Second is, it is safe because it passes through the placental barrier, which is a molecular barrier, and removes all the bacteria. Though we have done, in addition, screening by ELISA for HIV 1, 2, hepatitis B, C, etc. And our transfusion experience is absolutely positive. And in our own way, you can say too much to be right. Results are too good. When I was discussing this in Boston and Harvard, and I have centers of excellence in the United States, in UK, France, etc. My idea is not to claim that we are great and we have done a great thing and solve the problem of transfusion as well as is the best possible blood substitute. My idea was to learn from distinguished background why there is no problem. And then in Harvard I told, look, I have come here to learn from your experience. You are all stalwarts in your field. I want to learn. I have done thousands of transfusion and show the film how we are doing, how we are screening, and how we are applying the same thing to our patients. There is no reaction. Naturally, today, tomorrow, or the day after, that will be accepted. Immaterial whether you start and initiate, it will be accepted globally. There are centers of excellence in the world. They have started accepting our transfusion potentiality of the cord blood. For example, in England, University of Glasgow, they have started using this as a blood substitute in case of sub-Saharan Africa, where the poorest of the poor African, with anemia after malaria, and they are treated for their life-saving blood transfusion with the cord blood. There are other centers of excellence in the world, in Germany too. They are using cord blood only for autologous use. By the term autologous use means use for the same person for which you have taken the blood from the placenta. A baby is born, you take out the blood, you find the baby anemic, give the blood. In case of prematurity, there is anemia. In case of anemia due to congenital problems with thrombocytes and other conditions, these anemias may be corrected with cord blood. Problem with cord blood, the question may be raised, why you have used cord blood? Reason is, we are using this from 1977 2000 on the use of cord blood in different conditions. Now, there is one attempt by use of cord blood in England in the year 1839. They told me it's a beautiful blood and that can be a blood substitute. The person used this, but after some time he thought that there would not be coagulation. But at that time when he did the experiment, there was neither the citrate, not acid citrate dextrose, which prevents coagulation, was available. Naturally, after some time, he reported to Lancet, saying that I thought there would not be any problem with coagulation, but now I find there is coagulation, clot formation at the site of clot blood injection. Now, after 100 years or so, we have started using this, taking consent from the government, taking consent from the patient party, and taking ethical committee permission. And to our utter surprise, it's still fascinated with the positivity of the experimentation. Cord blood is compatible. In this connection, so what they're mentioning, the best book in hematology, Professor Winthrop. Professor Winthrop, I wrote to him.
Dr. Bhattacharya, we actually, thank you so much for this information, but we are actually running a little bit out of time. If you could just give us a few concluding remarks, and then I would like to tell our audience members and listeners that we will be covering many more questions on cord blood on our expert Q&A section, where Dr. Niranjan Bhattacharya is going to be sending us written answers to the remaining questions for today's topic. But I would request Dr. Bhattacharya to just give us a couple of concluding remarks before we end the show today.
Thank you so much. Yes, I'm giving the concluding remark. Cord blood is a true substitute of adult blood. In case of need for a blood, throughout the world, everybody, they discard the potential source of blood transfusion collected from cord blood, not only in emergency, but also in other conditions which necessitates blood transfusion. In this connection, it is worth mentioning that during emergency, during other devastating conditions, as we have witnessed in the United States and different parts of the world, terrorist movement and everything, there may be massive requirement of blood. And cord blood, with our experience for 20 years working in government hospital, with our experience with the Department of Regenerative Medicine, working at School of Tropical Medicine, it is absolutely safe. It contains highest amount of stem cell that will go to each and every system to compensate for the repair and requirement. It has got highest amount of hemoglobin and fetal hemoglobin, which gives a priority advantage over adult hemoglobin. It has a high platelet count. It has a high WBC count. And because of poor antigenic expression, there is no problem. I assure you, there is no problem with cord blood transfusion.
Great. Thank you so much once again, Dr. Bhattacharya. This is our very first show on cord blood, and I think you've shed a lot of light on this topic, which has puzzled many of our caregivers and seniors. I would like to mention your organization's website so people can visit that for more information. You can learn more about Dr. Bhattacharya's work at www.stmkolkata.org. I'd like to thank our audience for tuning in today. Join us next time on Tuesday, July 18th at 2 p.m. Eastern for our next Caregiver and Physician Conversation show. To learn more about eCare Diary and our upcoming shows, visit www.ecarediary.com. Registration is free and gives you immediate access to your personal care diary tool. You can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. My Twitter address is ecare_diary. Thank you once again. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Meghna. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving me
Thank you, Dr. Bhattacharya.
time.